Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Change Anchors series. As we earlier promised, we are going to be bringing to you special guests to discuss African Renaissance. And today, we are privileged to have another great mind with us. This special guest is a seasoned C-level executive with over 25 years of working experience from across Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome together a great man, and this is no other person than Alhaji Rabiu Abdullahi Umar. You are welcome to this session, sir. Sir, we would like to hear from you. Probably give us some more information about yourself, your work across Africa, and so on, just to do justice to your great profile.
Okay, thank you, Justin. And I'd like to, first of all, start by thanking you for inviting me to this very important and timely effort in trying to make sure that indeed Africans understand what's going on. And I think this is a testament to your ability to bring people to say a word or two on this platform. Having said that, I also like to apologize. I actually thought this was not a video thing. I would have dressed properly. But be that as it may, I think you've said most of the stuff that needs to be said. I think probably what I can just add is that I'm someone who's passionate about seeing change. I believe that as most of our elder statespeople have been saying over the years, nobody is going to develop Africa. We are the ones that have to develop it. And as such, I think if you look at the global landscape today, you see that almost everywhere is developed or developing, and Africa is by far behind. And I think I'm very passionate about seeing that change because I believe there's nothing, whether it's from an education standpoint or it's from the audacity, the sheer audacity to do what is right, that we should be seen as second-class citizens in this world. We are not by any stretch of imagination, in my own opinion. So because of that, I have spent the better part of my professional career trying to prove that and trying to basically transform things. And with the help of God and guidance of our mentors, we have been successful in achieving a few feats, of course, not without taking some body blows. I don't think there's much more to say in terms of background, because again, you've mentioned most of the things I have done. And I think in the course of the engagement, if there are things that I need to add, of course, I'm more than willing to do that. Thank you.
So what is the future for Africa when it comes to the Renaissance? What do you see as the future for Africa?
So there's a lot, to be honest, in terms of if you look at what's going on in the world, Africa is probably the next frontier globally. No matter how we look at it, like I said, a lot of places are already developed or are developing. Africa is by far the most fertile ground for the next wave of Renaissance. And of course, whatever statistics you look at, by 2050, there's a study that showed there will be a net increase of 740 million jobs in Africa. And why is that? Because the demography is different. If you look at what's going on across the world, if we look at the talent flight that we've seen in the last couple of years, you see people moving to Western worlds. Why? Because most of the population is aged or aging. If you go to Asia, you see the same problem. But Africa is the youngest continent, and being the youngest continent, naturally, we have younger people. And of course, even if you look at population growth in terms of percentages, if you look at a lot of the practices, the average size of a family, whatever metric you take, Africa has the youngest population in the world today. which is why a lot of countries are coming up with different, different schemes to attract our best brains. So the conversation is timely, in my opinion. This is the right time to be having conversations around how does Africa rise? How do we get this engine to really start rolling?
Now, the question at the as I used to say, on the minds of most people, especially our youths, is what are the change anchors to drop at this point to be able to bring about real renaissance? And I see that accountability is a scarce commodity across Africa. So what is your take on that? Accountability as a change anchor.
So accountability, I think, is we often talk about accountability in the negative light, which is to say somebody needs to do the right thing. And if they don't do the right thing, then of course they get, there's a consequence for that action. But at the same time, accountability is also a positive thing in the sense that when done right, then you tend to move in the right direction you're supposed to be moving. And I think the accountability of the leaders is directly proportional to the accountability of the citizens. So I'll give you a simple example. If people pay taxes, they will mind exactly how their money is being spent. But if the people don't pay taxes, then it becomes difficult. And my view for the next generation is to say that anybody who has any dreams of leadership in any capacity, even in your own house, you don't have accountability, there's not going to be any growth. It's as simple as saying to a 5-year-old kid, I'm going to buy you ice cream if you do well in school. And then the boy does or the girl does good in school and you don't. For me, that is creating lack of accountability, if you get what I mean. So whatever sphere of human existence we look at, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. Accountability is a social contract. It's a contract you have with the people. It is a contract that the people have with the government. And that is the key driver of any change you find, whether it's in the public or the private sector. Leadership is all about accountability. There's nothing more important because I can say what I want and then do the wrong things. And as long as we're doing the wrong things, the lack of accountability is also what we see a lot of leaders in the world today. Unfortunately, you see a lot of leaders actually abdicating their responsibility or accountability because the kitchen is getting hot. Simple things as, if we look at even human beings today, why do people do the right thing? People don't do the right thing because they have a good heart. People do the right things because there are consequences for their actions. Whether if you look at it from we talk about religion, the biggest thing religion does for us, whatever religion, is that it gives you a system. And that system reminds you of the right things to do and the wrong things to do. And then what happens when you do the right things or you do the wrong things, as an individual, as a group, as a country, and even for the entire world, there are consequences to any action that one takes. So really, it's a social contract for me when you talk about accountability. It's a social contract. If you're a leader in an organization, then you have a social contract. You're accountable not just to your own superiors, but you're also accountable to your inferiors because you owe them, you have a responsibility to make sure that you put in your best, you guide them, and they learn from you, and you have they're able to work with you to achieve the goals that are supposed to be achieved. And where that doesn't happen, you're courageous enough to take necessary corrections where you need to, or if it doesn't work as a leader, you step aside and allow somebody else to also try. So that to me is the bedrock of everything. That whether private sector or the public sector, that will drive the change that we're seeking for.
Thank you, sir. And in relation to Africa Renaissance, you're saying it is what we need at this point, based on social contract, for everyone to remain accountable. Am I correct?
Yes. And when I say everyone, including the citizens also have a responsibility. If
Yes.
we all can complain, I mean, there are laws in every country, for example, and you find out that people break the law and feel the government is not doing anything. I recently had a very simple encounter where I gave, I would say, a very religious person some things to give to the needy. And then the person just took the thing for themselves. So if you think about it, these are people who sit down every day and insulting the government. That the government, everybody's a thief, all the leaders are stealing, and they're not accountable, they're not good people. But then the little leadership trust that was given to you has turned out to be misused. So, and then when we started having the conversation, okay, fine, you know this is wrong. He said, yes, I know it's wrong. So why did you do it? It's as simple as that. So if the people are not able to call out their leaders, if the leaders as well are not able to call out the people, because leaders are not, one person cannot change the entire world. You can have a very good leader. If the leader doesn't even know the rot is going on because everybody is in on the take, how is he going to fix it? Yeah. So that's that to me is the key thing. And for me, really, we need to move away from seeing the law or the big man or whoever it is that has any responsibility as being the big man. And we need to move away to systemic institutions, because that will change. It doesn't matter who is in that place. The rules are the rules and they will be followed. Another thing that is helping to drive this change is actually, if you look at the technological changes that we're seeing. So for example, back in the day, a leader can do the wrong thing, and 9 out of 10 times you don't even know. Today, you do the wrong thing, in 10 minutes, everybody knows what's going on.
Everybody knows.
So in truth, yes, there is a negative side of the AI and stuff. But I believe that technology is helping to drive that. And like I said, secondly, if we move away from, the big man mentality and to systems, and it will move more, begin to hold people accountable. Yes. The other thing is that accountability is a two-way street. It's a mutual accountability. So there's the accountability, in my own opinion, of the leaders to the people. There's the accountability of the people to the leaders. As long as there's an imbalance, there will always be a struggle. So for the topic we're talking about today, I believe we all need to be more interested and be desirous of that change, and be able to make the necessary sacrifices required to drive that change if we want to see a change in what's going on.
Diligence in the light of going extra mile to achieve results, right? Doing what it takes, at all costs within legal framework. So what is your take on that in terms of diligence as a change anchor to help Africa Renaissance?
Okay, so first and foremost, I think I would like to correct that impression. I don't believe Africans are not diligent enough. I don't believe so. I've worked with people from every continent, every single continent in the world. And I can tell you there are good people everywhere and there are bad people everywhere. Probably what is being mentioned has to do with the way people were trained. As you know, some of our institutions lack the depth that you need to be able to do the right things. But if you find anybody from anywhere that has gone to a proper school, has studied properly, and has graduated and is working, you find them to be very resourceful. Take a taxi in any city, and you find the person who hasn't even gone to school. I mean, they may not speak Queen's English, but certainly they're not stupid. They will show you how things are done. And if you're not careful, they will outsmart you. So I don't think, for me, there's no question of diligence as it relates to being a negative for Africans. Having said that, diligence is required no matter what we're doing. There's a requirement for that grit. There's a requirement for having a staying power and being able to do what is required to get things done. I mean, back in the day,
power.
our forefathers used to go to the farm before sundown, and they were not back till night. That's how we started. Then we moved to, gradually as we get westernized, all that started to go away. However, the question of diligence as a requirement is for me the work as it relates to the topic we're talking about, the Renaissance. It has to do with our ability to put in the work required to change the systems. What do I mean? If you look at, we want to see prosperity. For you to have prosperity, even if you have the right governance in place, you still need to have the right economic levers in place. And for me, that takes me to things around, like, for example, supply chain. Nobody is going to change your supply chain situation. You've got to have the diligence to put in the work, to do the work that is required to move you, from where you are to where you need to be. You want to move goods, for example, today from Nigeria to Kenya, for example. It's difficult. I spoke, I think, 5 or 6 years ago at the Afrexim Trade Fair in Durban. And I remember mentioning this. It's cheaper to move goods from China to Cape Town than from Durban in South Africa to Cape Town in South Africa because of logistical issues. And today, if you look at whatever we look at, okay, how many cars do we have in Africa? Of the cars we have, how many were brought in from other continents as used? Now, they're brought in as used, but even the tires we use on those vehicles are brought in from outside. So what would it take, for example, to say one country is going to invest in tire manufacturing, another one is going to be doing glasses, this one is going to be doing that. And by the time you aggregate everything, you then have a car that is truly, you can call an African car, because the AFCFTA has made that possible now. But then the law is the law. The law is 10% of the work. 90% of the work is making sure that all these components are brought in together. But today you find out we still bring in even paper clips from Europe, from China. So that diligence that you spoke about, for me, this is where it rests in terms of being able to make sure we move. We already have the ingredients. 1.4 billion people on the continent coming together to feed ourselves, to clothe ourselves, to provide for ourselves. Is the biggest market that everybody is scrambling to come and take.